Have you ever wondered, when sitting at the kitchen table, how the meal before you came to be? How exactly did the food on your plate become, well, dinner? It turns out that it takes a lot of work to turn an animal into food. And under Jewish law, or halakha, there are even more rules, laws, and techniques that one must think about and act by in order to prepare food that is suited for consumption. This video is about just that, Kashrut, or Jewish laws regarding food for consumption. Many of these laws are stated in the Torah and further expounded on and clarified in the Mishnah and in the Talmud. In this video, we are going to be talking a lot about meat. During the ancient times of the temple, an animal would be brought to the temple to be ritually slaughtered as a sacrifice to God. Some of the sacrificed animal parts were given directly to God on an altar. Some parts went to the high priest, and the person who made the offering got to take the rest home. It became prohibited to offer sacrifices anywhere but the temple, and so people who wanted to eat meat in their own backyard had to eat it in a non-sacrificial manner. The meat that people would slaughter and cook up in their backyards was considered chulin, or non-sacrificial. Nowadays, all kosher meat consumption is chulin because the temple no longer exists to offer sacrifices. Okay, time to start thinking about dinner. Let's start with what type of meat we are in the mood for. The halakha permits us to eat only certain kinds of meat. There are two categories that animals can fall into: domesticated, or behemah, and non-domesticated, or chaya. Animals that you'd find in a barn are likely behemot, like goats, sheep, horses, camels, and cows. Wild animals like deer, bison, squirrels, and bears are chayot. Oh, and also pigs are considered behemah as well. And the categorization continues. Of our two categories, behemah and chaya, there are some animals in each that are kosher or suitable for us to eat. An animal such as this is called a behemah tahora, or a chaya tahora. What constitutes the tahora kosher label? In general, a kosher animal walks on four legs and nurses its young, though in order for it to be classified as kosher, it must have a cloven hoof and must also chew its cud. There are many behemot tahorot that we are familiar with eating, like cows, goats, and sheep. While less common, there are chayot tahorot that we can eat, deer and bison, for example. Wait a second, what about the most common meat of all, chicken? Chickens are poultry, meat that comes from birds. Unlike the animals we've already discussed, the rules for kosher poultry, or of tahor, are not found in the Torah, so the rabbis set their own rules. There are three specificities. One of its toes must be much longer than the others. It must have a discernible crop being a part of the gullet, and its craw, or its thick muscular stomach, must be easily peeled. And kosher birds cannot be birds of prey. As much as I'd enjoy a roast falcon on the dinner table, falcons, you are spared. Let's cook something classic today out on the barbecue. How about hamburgers? For that, we will need a fresh cow to be, well, dead. Are there kashrut laws regarding the slaughter of animals? You betcha. Slaughtering animals for food is called shechita. There are a number of specific mitzvot, or commandments, that work together to build the system of shechita. Warning, this next section of the video talks about literally slaughtering animals, in case that makes you queasy or uneasy. So you've got a behemah tahora in front of you, and you're starving. Before you make any cuts, you have to make sure that the animal is not a trefa. An animal that is a trefa is one that would likely die on its own within a year, and it is not permitted to be eaten. An animal that is a trefa might be torn and battered up by another, stronger animal, or perhaps have a birth defect or a disease that would kill it within a year. And of course, the animal can't already be dead. Our cow is nice and healthy, so it is not deemed a trefa. Our next step is to actually slaughter it. The slaughterer, or the shochet in Hebrew, must be deliberate in their actions. Anyone can be a shochet except a deaf mute, an imbecile, or a minor. However, they can ritually slaughter if they are supervised. One must use a smooth, very sharp knife on a specific part of the animal's neck, and the animal's windpipe and esophagus must be most of the way severed, but not all the way. Under halakha, a shochet must be Jewish and a human being, which means no machines are allowed for shechita. The blood that pours out of an of tahor or a chaya tohora upon shechita must be covered with earth. Whew! Our cow is slaughtered properly and it's time to get cooking. Wait, not so fast. Before we cook the meat, we have to make sure that there is no blood or dam left over in the meat. The Torah prohibits blood to be eaten, so it must be properly drained out. In order to do that, we must use salt, which absorbs the blood found in the meat. After the meat sits coated in salt, the meat is rinsed off and is ready to be cooked. This salting process is called melicha. The last halakha we need to know is the concept of basar b'chalav, or meat and milk. There are a series of halachot directing us to separate dairy and meat while cooking and consuming either. In the plainest understanding, that means no cheese on that hamburger. But many Jews who follow kashrut laws will not use designated meat utensils and kitchenware to prepare and eat dairy, and vice versa. Also, many of these Jews, after eating meat, wait a designated amount of time before they consume dairy, commonly 6 hours. That means no milkshake for dessert. And there we have it, the major concepts when it comes to kashrut. When deciding what to eat, you got to think about what type of animal you are cooking, how it was killed, and how you will prepare it. Now, after selecting, slaughtering, and preparing and cooking the animal, it's dinner time. B'tei Avon.